Alhamdulillah, I've grown my coaching business to 30k per month without running ads, spamming cold DMs, or getting burnt out. And Bidnillah, in this video, I'm going to show you the exact 5-step framework I use to do it, so you can just copy and paste it into your business so you can scale past 10k, 20k, even 30k per month by turning absolute strangers into high-paying clients who trust you before the sales call even starts. So imagine me and you went fishing, okay? And these green fish are absolutely delicious. We love eating them. Now, if we can get bigger green fish, that's even better because we get to feed our families. But then there's these also disgusting little red fish that we just don't want to have, right? So you've got pond A and pond B. Pond A has only 100 fish, but pond B has 10,000 fish. But me and you both know that pond A has more green fish. The chances of us catching a green fish is more likely, even though there's less fish around, so we might have to wait a little longer. And pond B has way more fish, but we don't really like to go there because guess what? The likelihood of us catching a green fish is very, very low compared to us catching a red fish. Just like me and you, if we wanted to catch the delicious green fish, we'd probably spend time in pond A, even though it's going to take us a little longer because we don't want to catch those red fish in pond B. Well, most people, what they do when they're trying to get clients is they go to the wrong pond. They go to the pond where there's more people, even though those people probably don't want to buy from them, and they don't have the patience to spend time in the smaller pond with less fish where there's more buyer intent. Buyer intent signifies the person being willing and capable to buy, which is really two important things. And for example, if you were to be on LinkedIn compared to TikTok, most people might be willing to buy, but they might not be capable. They're the red fish. We don't want them as clients. Whereas on LinkedIn, a lot more people are capable and willing to buy. So we should spend time there. The first question to ask yourself in the first step of this whole framework is to understand what pond, right, are my clients chilling at? Where are my clients with the highest buying intent chilling? When I had my agency and I was cold calling, the biggest issue I had was because I was cold calling dentists, a lot of them didn't have buyer intent on the phone. Why is that? Because I'd be speaking to the stupid receptionist. No hate to my receptionists, I'm just saying. So for me, cold calling was a big waste of time because I wouldn't speak to the decision maker. I wouldn't speak to the person who had the intention of buying in the first place. So what I ended up having to do was pivoting and seeing what different ponds are dentists in. And I found out that they were in emails, so I started sending cold emails. I also found out some of them were on LinkedIn, so I started sending LinkedIn messages. And I also figured out that a lot of them were on Facebook, so I started sending messages on Facebook. Guess which one was the most successful for me? Email and LinkedIn. Facebook, there were loads of them, but none of them were on Facebook to buy anything. They were on Facebook to chill with their families and do whatever they were doing on Facebook. So for me to be on Facebook with them was absolutely useless. Whereas on LinkedIn and on emails, they do expect to receive an email that's trying to sell them something. So if I could just interrupt their pattern well enough, then I'd be able to do so. Most importantly, when it comes to LinkedIn, their intention behind being on LinkedIn is to network with people, is to see what opportunities they could have to solve business problems that they face. So the first step of the process is to understand what platform, what pond are your prospects in. There's step 1.5 when it comes to this. Once you understand where your prospects are in the ponds, of course you can outreach, but I also want you to think about making content. If you're making content on TikTok for dentists, and I know for a fact that that was not going to work, whereas on YouTube, even though I got less views, I actually signed a client from a video that got 20 views. And that's because I picked the right pond. So the first step of the process is understand where are my prospects hanging out, but specifically those who have BI, buyer intent, because if they have buyer intent, then they're willing and capable to spend money on your solution. I was just about to send the video over to my editor, so I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I realized after step 1 and then there's 4 more steps, I wanted to actually give you a checklist for you to use to make sure that you're doing every single step correctly. So it's in the link in the description, it's completely free, don't worry about it. I'm just going to give you a checklist for every single step that you're about to watch, so maybe you can grab it while you watch the rest of it. That way you can apply everything that you're learning to make sure that you get the most valuable possible and to make sure that you can apply it into your business as soon as possible as well. So now that you've picked the right pond and you know where you're fishing, the next step is to make sure that the bait you are using is actually going to attract the right people. Personally, the way this has happened to me, and I promise you now, do not make the same mistake that I made, is I made really general content on YouTube and on Instagram. Now the issue is that my video that blew up on YouTube that has like 1.3 million views, barely any of them are green fish. Almost all of them are red fish, people who aren't willing or aren't capable to buy from me. So why would I make the video in the first place? Now the same goes on Instagram. I made a video that got like 500,000 views, but the issue was everybody that was watching it and commenting and following me was a red fish, not a green fish. So I ended up wasting my time. I was in the right platform, but I was doing the wrong stuff by putting out the wrong bait. Now the wrong bait comes in 2 forms. Number 1, it can come in the form of content, which we'll speak about first. And number 2, it can come in the form of the wrong outreach offer. Now, it might be weird for me to say outreach offer, but you'll understand why I say that in a second. So when it comes to content, the wrong sort of bait is just general, broad content that doesn't really solve anyone's problems and is more so used for motivation or trying to explain something that just nobody cares about. You might have seen some of those videos, right? Or like, it'll be like a video of Luke Belmar waffling about something, and you're like, okay, why is this guy talking about this? Then you'll see another video about Iman Gaji talking about how to find the right woman, and you're like, again, why would I the heck would I want to watch this? But then you end up scrolling again, you'll find a really specific video from Imran where he talks about how you have to use this sunnah trick to be able to increase your risk, or you have to be able to do this, do that. And you realize, cool, well, I'm a Muslim, I'm an entrepreneur, I want to increase my risk. Therefore, me listening to Imran is all beneficial for me, right? You'd agree. And the same goes when you're listening to Alex Hormozi. If he's talking about how he's helping roofing businesses and you don't have a roofing business, you're like, yeah, this just isn't going to help me. It might be useful in some ways, but it's not what I'm looking for. So content has to be tailored towards the green fish. We have to be attracting these green fish with our content. Now, how do we do that? Well, it's really simple, actually. The first way to differentiate the red fish and the green fish from each other is to talk about specific problems. For example, an entrepreneur has very, very different problems than the person who works in 9 to 5. The person who works in 9 to 5 might hate their job, they might hate their boss, they might get no time with their family. Whereas the entrepreneur might have too much time with their family and they're trying to find something that they're passionate about. Now, the first thing to do is to call out the problem that your prospect is dealing with, right? In this case, maybe the red fish get eaten by birds and the green fish get eaten by frogs, right? So if you say, hey, if you're a fish that gets eaten by frogs, watch what I'm about to tell you. Then the bait's going to be like, oh yeah, oh my goodness, I get eaten by frogs, let me go towards this bait. So the first thing is to call them out. The second thing is to talk about problems they're aware of. Because if you start telling somebody that your business is failing because you have the wrong mindset, they're going to be like, dude, you're cuckoo bananas, get out of here. My business is failing because I'm not very good at sales, because I don't have enough clients coming through the door, etc., etc. So what you have to do is talk about the problems they are aware of. And then, number 3, is reveal the real problem. Because once you reveal the real problem, they end up appreciating you for giving them that insight. Because all of a sudden, the entire way they've looked at the world is completely different. And now you've given them a new opportunity. You've given them hope to change because they've been so frustrated with the current problems that they have that they thought that their current problems were impossible to overcome. But now you've given them the real problem, they feel a lot more clarity in regard to solving that. So if we go with getting eaten by frogs with the green fish, right? So the first thing, call out the problem. If you're a fish that gets eaten by frogs, let's say the problem they're aware of, the reason that you're getting eaten by frogs is because you're swimming in the wrong part of the pond. The real reason you get eaten by frogs is because you're not coming towards my part of the pond, which is the best part of the pond. And guess what you have in your part of the pond? Whoop, 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 whoop. You reel them in. So your hook has to focus on the problems and it has to differentiate the red and the green from each other. Otherwise, to be honest with you, you're just going to get a bunch of views on content. You're going to be really frustrated, and you can trust me, you don't want that. You don't want to look at your content comments and be like, my goodness, none of these guys own a business. These guys are stupid. Not that people who don't own a business are stupid, but well, they kind of are. Anyways, when it comes to the side of outreach, it's very similar to content, except this one's more specific around 2 things. Number 1, your profile has to shout specificity. You have to differentiate yourself from everybody else. So for me, if I'm going to bait people on LinkedIn, for example, I want to make sure that when they accept my request or when they look at my profile, they can tell I'm some sort of authority. Well, how do I do that? Well, I just make everything I do specific. I say who I specifically work with, what I specifically help them with, and what I specifically avoid when working with them. For example, you might say, I help coaches sign high-ticket clients without running ads. It's like, okay, cool. Well, that's not specific enough anymore. How do you do it? Okay, you can be specific in the how, you can be specific in the who. I work with, you could say, I work with married B2B coaches. I work with married B2B coaches. Okay, that's you being specific in regard to who you're calling out. The next thing is what you help them solve. Sign high-ticket clients. Sign clients who will pay them $3,000 plus to work with them. Okay, cool, that's more specific. And then all of a sudden, the only thing that's left to be specific about is your solution. And if it is just without running ads, for example, and you do outbound, you can just say that, that's fine, because you've been specific in the other things. But even better, you can be specific in the how. So the outreach point that I want to show you in regard to specificity is literally be specific in terms of the who, be specific in terms of what you help them solve, and be specific of how you help them solve it. That's how you attract the green fish when it comes to outreach. Because you're going to be outreaching to the right people because you get to pick which ones you use. But your green fish are probably going to ignore you. Why would they ignore you? Because they look at your bait and they're like, this is like every other bait I've seen in my life. I'm not going to go with that bait. Last time I saw somebody go to that bait, his name was Jeremy. Jeremy's dead. I don't want to make the same mistake as Jeremy. In my experience, just being specific on these 3 things to make sure that the fish who've always been baited before and been disappointed get baited again, but this time, inshallah, they won't be disappointed by you. So the third thing kind of comes to pricing, and I want to quickly show you two things really quickly for you to understand when you're working on your business, is that there's a difference between a customer and a client. You see, a customer is somebody who either spends less than $1,000 with you or is worth less than $1,000 for you. So what that means is that maybe somebody buys your low ticket product that's $100. Well, they're not a client, they're just a customer. They're not going to buy from you as much as you want them. They're not as committed to you as your client would be. So what you want to start doing is focusing on attracting clients, not customers. You want the green fish to be people who spend at least over $1,000 with you. So that's the first differentiation I want to give you, because you're most likely watching this and you've got some sort of high ticket offer, which is amazing because you're going to be attracting somebody who's going to be spending more than $1,000 with you. But in my opinion, $1,000 is still mid-ticket. There's this really awkward pricing thing where if your thing is priced between $1,000 and $3,000, let's say $2,000, you can kind of sell it through a webinar, but you could probably sell more and make more money if the thing was just 1,500 or 1,000. Now, what do you do if you want to sell one-to-one with people? Yeah, you could sell it for $2,000, but at that point, if you're going to sell one-to-one, you might as well sell it for $3,000. And obviously, if you sell anything below $1,000, you can just sell it via a VSL. You don't have to do any one-on-one calls, you don't have to do any webinars. Now, the most important thing in regard to this is, the thing I want to get in your head here is if you're hopping on one-on-one calls with people, there is literally no point in you charging less than $3,000. And I'm going to tell you why very quickly. Because let's say you were charging $2,000 for your thing, right? Even if it's $2,000 a month, you would literally be better off learning how to sell one-to-many via webinars. Because the same amount of time it's going to take you, the same amount of effort it's going to take you to learn that skill in one-on-one selling, you'll just be able to sell more if you did it one-to-many. It's very hard to sell on webinars for something that's more than $2,000 without a strong brand. So if you're going to have one-on-one calls with people, you should be charging at least $3,000. Because if you're thinking to yourself, well, Fedi, what if they don't pay me $3,000? You have to understand, if you're jumping on a one-on-one call with somebody, if you're going to say $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, there is literally zero difference in your prospect's mind. If they took the time to jump on a one-on-one call with you, to hear you out, to see what you have to offer, you should not be charging anything less than $3,000. I cannot stress that enough. If you're jumping on one-on-one sales calls with people, $3,000 is your minimum pricing. And I learned this from a guy called John Pemberty when I was in an event in London. And he mentioned the fact that most people who sell one-to-one get so scared of this little zone right here. They think that if they charge more than $3,000, they're going to get 100% a no. And they're more comfortable around the $1,000, $2,000 side of things. But if they're more comfortable with that price range, they need to stop selling one-on-one. And they might as well just sell on webinars, one-to-many. But I generally believe, and I'd go further than him, to say that most people are scared to charge $3,000 because they think it's expensive. They don't look at it from their prospect side of things. They don't look at the fisher's opinion, right? They look at their own opinion. They think that $3,000 is too much money to spend on them. I say this to you directly because for me, if you're jumping on one-on-one calls with people, you should not be charging less than $3,000. There is actually 0 point, because you might as well just learn how to run a webinar and learn how to be successful in that way. What you have to unlearn, you have to deprogram yourself, is you have to stop selling out of your own pocket. Just because you think $3,000 is a lot does not mean that your prospect thinks $3,000 is a lot. Just because you think that you're not worth $3,000 does not mean that your prospect thinks you're not worth $3,000. Well, actually they kind of do, because obviously sales is a transfer of emotions, a transfer of confidence. So if you don't even have confidence in yourself, then your prospect's not going to have confidence in you. I say this in regard to pricing with the hopes that I can convince you, if you're going to be one-on-one selling, you might as well charge $3,000. In your prospect's mind, there is no difference between $1,000, $2,000, and $3,000, okay? So you might as well go to that upper limit, because if you're going to charge less, just learn how to run webinars. So at this point, we've baited the right fish. We've got them to jump on a sales call with us, and we're going to pitch them on the price of $3,000. What if they say no? And that's a really good question. What if they say yes? Amazing, you'll collect their money, you're going to improve, and maybe you can focus on this step as well. What if they say no? So what if they say no? Well, they're going to say no because of one of three things. It's going to be because they don't have confidence. But they don't have confidence in what? They might not trust you. They might not trust your product, and they might not trust that the product that you're selling them is a right fit for them. I'll give you a quick example. If you were to sell me a private jet, maybe you are the most sleazy person I've ever seen. Obviously you're not, right? We'll choose this as an example. You're the most sleazy person I've ever seen. Maybe you stink, maybe you're rude, maybe I just don't like you. So I'm not going to trust you. I'm not going to buy it from you. Even though I think, oh, I really want a private jet, and this private jet is going to save me so much time and money in the long run. Now, let's think about it the opposite side of things. You sell me a private jet. You are the most amazing person in the world. And the private jet looks fantastic, except I'm thinking to myself, dude, I don't think I need a private jet. I don't think this is going to help me in my goals. So therefore, even though your product's amazing and you are amazing, they're not going to buy from you. Now, final example with a private jet. Let's say you're amazing and you're charming them all the time. They really, really think they need a private jet. However, your private jet seems to have a dodgy engine and it seems to fall through the sky and almost crash every time somebody drives it. Obviously, they're not going to trust your product. Now, you have to understand it from this perspective, which is if a sales call is not closing, it's because a prospect doesn't trust you, they don't trust your product, and they don't trust the product is going to be a fit for them. So how do you make it a fit for them? Well, the first two things in regards to you and the product, these are actually going to come from you. These are going to come from you understanding that confidence comes from you trusting yourself. So if you trust yourself, then your prospect is going to trust you. The second one in regard to the product is going to be testimonials. So if you have testimonials or if you have some sort of proof that this works. Now, this doesn't have to be your proof. It just has to be proof that the thing that you're doing actually works. Now, the most important thing to understand very quickly, by the way, is that you are the most important thing for the prospect to trust. If the prospect trusts you and nothing else, they will buy from you. Let's say you've got a dodgy ass airplane and they don't really need the private jet. If you are the most charming, the loveliest, the kindest person in the world, they will buy from you. Full stop. Okay? Before you get bogged up in, I'm selling them Facebook ads, I'm selling them Google ads, I'm selling them coaching, you're not selling any of those things. You're selling what they want. You're selling the fact that in 3 years they can be retired. You're selling the fact that in 3 years they can have a business that works without them. You're selling them the fact that in 3 years they get to spend time with their kids. You're selling them that dream. So what you want to do in step 4, to put it simply, is ask your prospects exactly what they want. Whether they said yes from you and they bought. In this case, you're trying to make a better product. So you say, hey, dude, what would make this product a 10 out of 10 product for you? What can I do to make this so much better? Why did you buy in the first place? If they tell you why they bought, take those things and leave them in your offer. When the person who says no, you ask them, well, look, I understand you said no. I'm just going to ask you one more question if that's okay before you head out. If me and you would have a conversation like this 3 years from now, what would have to happen for your business to be successful as you want it to be and for you to be successful in your personal life? Just ask them that question and you can give them 10 minutes, 20 minutes to answer, even just 30 seconds. They're going to at least give you a little golden nugget about what they truly want, and that has to be what your offer focuses on. So that's step number 4, which is tweaking your offer to be exactly what your prospects want. So by this point, we know where to find our dream prospects. We're consistently advertising to them and hooking them in to try and get them to buy from us. We're charging them at least $3,000 to work with us, and most of them we're going to say no, but some of them we're going to say yes. Those who say no, we're going to ask them, well, cool, what was the dream outcome you would love to have in the next 3 years? And now you've tweaked your offer a little bit. Once you've tweaked your offer to be exactly what your market wants, you're going to find yourself, when you're hooking people in and selling them, sales become so easy. And they see you as an authority because they see that you understand their problems. So what is the final last step? Well, this is the step that I'm really focused on in regard to scaling to 100K per month and beyond, which is, oh, drum roll please. The product. I know it's boring stuff, but here's how I plan on improving my product and how you should be planning on improving your product too. Find your top 5 best clients. These are going to be the ones that have the best results and the ones you like the most. Ask them these 2 questions. The first thing you ask them is, what can I be doing right now to guarantee your success? Just that question. What could I be doing right now that would guarantee that you become successful? Oh, you could kill my wife because she's annoying me. You'd be like, whoa, what the heck is wrong with this guy? And then maybe he's not going to be your favorite client. Or, most likely, he's going to be like, dude, I just have no energy in the morning. If you could find a way to give me more energy, that'd be amazing. I don't know how you do it, but I would love it. Maybe you end up creating a supplement brand for, I don't know, entrepreneurs who need more energy. That could be an idea, right? Whatever it is, they need to tell you, if you could guarantee their success, what you need to do for them to be guaranteed success in the first place. Because what you end up finding out is 2 things. 1, big problems. Big problems that they have. Number 2, you end up finding the next product to sell to them. Maybe you're not planning on helping them with the next step. Maybe you're not planning on, let's say, helping them close their deals because you bring them appointments, right? You're a lead generation agency. Maybe you're not planning on helping somebody gain more muscle now that you've helped them lose weight. But whatever it is, you get to understand, well, what do these people want as the next step? And that gives you a chance to sell them the next step, or in your first step, to solve the next step along with it and therefore increase your pricing. The next question to ask them is, what do you hate in the product? Like, you can ask it directly, depends what sort of clients you have. For me, I ask it slightly separately, which is like in 2 parts. Like, well, what do you not use in the product that we have? Like, what do you kind of skip around? What do you not use? And secondly, which one feels like a burden, right? And I know these are slightly connected, but people hate something that they don't use and they hate something that they don't use and is a burden. So I kind of want to understand both of them on the same time. So when you ask your clients those 2 questions, you end up having the perfect product. You end up having the blueprint for literally the best thing ever. And all you have to do now is spend all your time, all your resources, all your waking hours working on making that a reality, which is tiring, but it means that you can increase your price. It means you can help your customers even more and therefore make them more successful and therefore change their lives even more. So This would be the way, and this is the final step for you to scale beyond 30K per month, which is what I'm currently doing right now. Alhamdulillah. If your current priority is just about getting more clients, right, hooking them in and actually selling them, I'm going to put this video up right here that you can go watch. It's about how you can hook, retain, and sell the people that you attract with your content and outreach.